Well, good evening, everyone. It is 6:30, so I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Appreciate you all turning out on a cool evening. It's Monday night. Do want to just clarify for those of you who have a printed agenda, there were several changes, and just to keep you from having to waste any time if you're here for one of these items, I wanted to announce that the following items have been deferred and will not be considered this evening. The first is MP-25-08/CU-25-13/V-25-17, Hanover Windward Park, Windward MP Pod 66, will not be heard this evening. Also, PH-25-18, Hudson Park, the change of condition, that will not be heard this evening. And Z-25-10/V-25-22, Levitan/75 and 91 Roswell Street. And there was a new business item, C, request for proposals 26-102, design build Wills Park Baseball Field 5 artificial turf conversion. That item will not be covered this evening. Is that correct, Mr. Lagerblum? All right, thank you, sir. We'll note for the record, all members of council are present and accounted for this evening. And as always, we begin our meetings with a Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're willing and able, please stand and join us. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And after doing the pledge, first item on our agenda just so happens to be a proclamation for Wreaths Across America. So I'll be willing to meet the ladies from Wreaths Across America, Daughters of American Revolution, Patriots of Liberty chapter, if you'll join me down front. So who would like to speak on behalf of your organization?
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. I'm Alicia King. I'm the regent of the Patriots Liberty chapter here in Alpharetta for the Daughters of the American Revolution. And it is a great honor. Thank you so much for honoring us with this award proclamation for Wreaths Across America. Our chapter is turning 10 years old on Saturday. And we started 7 years ago, Wreaths Across America, with one cemetery, which was Rest Haven. And there are 120 veterans buried in Rest Haven. Now we are up to 10 cemeteries in the Fulton County and 6 of them in Alpharetta. So we are very honored and thankful to the city of Alpharetta for giving this proclamation to us and Wreaths Across America and honoring our veterans, especially during November just passed, which is a big month to honor our veterans. Thank you so much.
Thank you, and we're very grateful for your service to our community. So I do have a proclamation here. Still a small font, so I better break out the readers. This is a proclamation by the mayor and the council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, for Wreaths Across America 2025. Whereas the Wreaths Across America program first began in 1992 when Worcester Wreath Company placed surplus wreaths in Arlington Cemetery to honor our country's veterans. In 2008, the United States Congress unanimously voted to declare December 13th as Wreaths Across America Day. This annual tradition, turned 501c3, now places over 3 million wreaths on headstones of our nation's service members on nearly 5,000 cemetery locations here and abroad. And whereas Wreaths Across America is dedicated to 3 foundational values: remember, honor, and teach. To remember our fallen heroes, honor those who serve, and teach the next generation the value of freedom. And whereas each December, the Daughters of the American Revolution, Patriots of Liberty chapter, coordinates the Wreaths Across America ceremonies throughout 6 cemeteries in the city of Alpharetta: Rest Haven, Pine View, Maxwell Family, Rucker Family, Old Big Creek, and Big Creek Primitive Baptist Church cemeteries. This event unites our community by remembering and honoring the brave men and women who have served and sacrificed for our freedom. And whereas this year's ceremonies hold particular significance as our nation approaches its 250th anniversary of independence, reminding all citizens of the enduring sacrifices that secured and sustain our liberty. And whereas the city recognizes that supporting Wreaths Across America reflects our values of service and community. Additionally, the city appreciates the work of the DAR Patriots of Liberty chapter, Alpharetta Historical Society, and our resident volunteers who help recognize our servicemen and women and preserve the dignity and history of our local sacred resting places. Now, therefore, we, the mayor and the city council of Alpharetta, Georgia, do hereby declare November 13th, 2025 as Wreaths Across America Day. We encourage all members of the community to join in honoring our veterans and to reflect upon the freedoms that are safeguarded by their courage and devotion to our country. So proclaimed this first day of December, 2025, by the mayor and the city council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia. Thank you very much. And next on our agenda, I believe we have something that Morgan Rogers might be taking care of for us. This is another award presentation for the Georgia Recreation and Parks Association's Recreation Programming Network Distinguished Support Staff to Ms. Stacy Shirley. I'll turn it over to the Director of Fun.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like for Stacy and your crew to come on down. That goes for you too, Joey. Come on. I am actually wearing a second hat tonight, Mr. Mayor. Besides being the Prime Minister of Fun for the City of Alpharetta, I am also President-elect of the Georgia Recreation and Park Association. So it is in that official capacity that I am here to present the award tonight. We have a short video that we want to show. This is the video that the State Association put together. So if you'd watch your monitors, first keep your fingers crossed that, that the technology is going to work for me tonight.
Dedication and heart in every aspect of their work, known for their contagious enthusiasm and unmatched attention to detail. This celebrates every event program and touch, from large-scale community celebrations to the smallest daily interactions. Their innovative ideas extraordinary experiences, creating magic for families, children, and participants of all ages. Whether managing logistics, designing decor, or stepping in to help wherever needed, this person is the steady force behind countless successful programs. Their leadership, creativity, and passion inspire both colleagues and community members alike. Please join me in congratulating Stacy Sherman, recipient of the Recreation Programming Network Distinguished Support Staff Award, representing the City of Alpharetta Recreation, Parks, and Cultural Services Department.
So of course, we here at Alpharetta are proud of Stacy, as well as the state has acknowledged what a great job she does with us. But I took a little time today to talk to some of her coworkers, and here's some of the things that they had to say about you, Stacy. She is the heart and soul of the Alpharetta Community Center. She's the dream teammate. She has a creative flair, attention to detail, Wonder Woman, the go-to person, an irreplaceable asset. But I think this sums up Stacy. Her passion inspires staff, uplifts the community, and ensures that every visitor to the Alpharetta Community Center feels seen, valued, and welcome. And for that, Stacy, we really appreciate all you do, and we recognize you as the support staff of the year through the GRPA. Thank you very much. We will let the mayor, let me get out of the way, the mayor. You want to present that?
Squeeze in like you like.
We do, we do. Thank you, Kim. Thank you.
Always great to start off a meeting like that. So getting back to the agenda, first item up will be the consent agenda. And the consent agenda consists of the city council meeting minutes from the meeting of November 17th, 2025. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on the consent agenda?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if anyone would like to come forward and speak on the consent agenda, now's your chance. I don't see anyone rushing forward, so we'll close public comment. Is there anyone that would like to remove anything from the consent agenda? Do I have a motion from council?
Motion to approve.
I have a motion by Councilman Hypes and second by Councilman Brady. That was to approve the consent agenda city council meeting minutes from November 17th. All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. And it is unanimous, so we'll move right along to the public hearing portion of tonight's meeting. If Ms. Eswine would explain the public hearing procedures.
An individual requesting to be heard on a matter related to the purpose of the hearing must be recognized by the mayor before addressing the city council. Upon rising to speak, the speaker must identify himself or herself and furnish a home or business address before proceeding with any comments or remarks. The council will allow proponents a total of 10 minutes to speak in support of an application. Opponents will be allowed 10 minutes to speak in opposition. Comments are accepted first from the applicant, followed by persons speaking in favor, and then from those in opposition. Upon conclusion of any opposing comments or presentations, the mayor will allow the applicant to offer rebuttal if any time is remaining in the originally allotted 10 minutes.
Thank you, Ms. Eswine. So the first item up under public hearing is E-25-09, Activate Games Sign Exception. Director Cook, I believe you have the floor.
Sorry about that. Good evening, Mayor and Council. The public hearing item is shown to you on the screen, and the submitted request, if approved, would allow for an additional wall sign on a commercial building for Activate Games. Property is located at 3020 Windward Plaza at the southeast corner of Windward Parkway and Windward Plaza. Property is zoned CUP, subject to the Windward Master Plan Pod 4. Property is developed with a strip shopping center, which is the terraces at Windward, and 2 outbuildings, including the former CVS building, which Activate Games was approved to take that building. Surrounding properties are also zoned CUP, and it's a freestanding commercial establishment. Let me put a blow up of this corner here, Windward Parkway, Windward Plaza. So the UDC section 2.6.12 allows 1 wall sign per road frontage, no greater than 1 square foot of area per 1 linear foot of frontage. Of course, the building has 2 road frontages. One of them is 137 feet on Windward Parkway, and then the other secondary road, Windward Plaza, they have 95 feet frontage on Windward Plaza. So the building's permitted 2 wall signs, no greater than 137 square feet on Windward Parkway and 95 square feet on Windward Plaza. So 2 are allowed. They actually have installed 2 signs that are 77 square feet each on Windward Plaza as well as Windward Parkway. And the request tonight is to add a 3rd sign that would be 35 square feet, but they would still be under the total allowed square footage. So although they're allowed 232 square feet of signage, 2 wall signs, the request is for 3, and the 3rd one would be added to this, what's called the left side. And here's Windward Terraces. 34 square feet would still be under the total square footage allowed of 232. And I'll show you what that looks like from the intersection, because they've installed their signs at these 2 locations. You can see that we're, the former tower of the CVS. So that's Windward Parkway, and that's one of the corners that you can see. And here you can see both. So they have the 2 signs on each side of that tower. Again, the request is to add the 3rd sign, still under the total square footage allowed. And they have a banner where that 3rd sign would be located, and the Windward, this is the entrance into the Windward Terraces. This item was held at the Community Zoning Information Meeting, October the 8th. There was no public comments. They also notified adjacent property owners, and they did not receive comments. And one thing I'll add with this particular request is that within the mixed-use district and also in the downtown, we do by right allow an additional 24 square foot sign, a 3rd sign if it's adjacent to a parking lot or another shopping center. And we don't allow that in other zoning districts. So because they're within CUP, they have to come forward and request that 3rd sign that would be located here. And that concludes staff presentation. The recommendation is to approve. And if you have any questions, I'll be glad to try to answer those.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Director Cook, it's my understanding that if this is granted tonight, it stays with the applicant, and should they vacate that building and a new tenant comes in, does the new tenant inherit the 3rd sign?
No, this would be specifically for Activate Games.
Just want to make sure. Thanks.
Do we have any other questions for Director Cook? Councilman Dorito.
Director Cook, could you go back to the one of the, maybe the frontal picture? Yeah. So what do we actually measure? The actual lettering of activate or the entire blue base behind the sign as well?
That's a good question, but it is actually just the light blue, the actual letters. And I think at one time we did measure if they painted an area behind, and they would include, we would count the entire band. However, after speaking with our attorney, we can only count the actual letters. So we are counting just the letters. Now, if this was an applied instead of painted behind it, if it was part of the actual sign structure, then we would count it. But on this particular case, the the dark paint behind it is not counted. Just the blue, light blue letters.
Do we have any requirements on the actual painted part as far as,
With,
I mean, can anyone just paint whatever they want, whatever color they want, or do we have any requirements?
I'm not familiar if this one actually went to design review board. I would have to look and see if that's something that went through the design review board, but I can find that information.
The reason why I'm bringing this up is I would love your kind of professional input on this. It looks pretty obnoxious to me, the two sides. And we're going to add a third sign, which if you look at it, facing the other development there, the commercial area, it just looks like a very obnoxious visual to me for trying to maintain some sense of a community shopping area in the city. It's something I think we'd see in other major cities that don't really have really tough zoning around their signs, and so I'm concerned putting a third side with that type of a sign facing the other areas of the shopping area, the commercial area, because the buildings there actually were developed to kind of fit into a community environment. I just think this is almost turning this into a more commercialized visual area of the city, which I know along Linwood Parkway there, we're going to have future redevelopment there, and I'm just concerned on setting a precedent that that starts, reducing our ability to manage the type of signage in that area.
And this was the previous sign, so I think, one of the things that you pointed out is that the background was more of a neutral, and now it's the darker color. Yeah, so I think within they of course have to go to Windward Terraces. There's an association, but it's a small association of just the Windward Terraces and the two outbuildings that would look at the request. But I'll have to look and see if that went to design review board, but certainly see what you're pointing out.
If it didn't go before the design review board, or we have the ability to do that?
This is already installed with this one.
No, I know. Now we're going to add a third side with that.
So if it's approved, you could absolutely add that the sign has to be approved by the design review board. We have recommended 2 different conditions, but one of them is not design review board. So you could certainly send them there and have them look at that third sign.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Brady?
Does the signage, there's 2 monuments out there, is that correct, on each side? Do they quantify into the total calculation?
The monument signs are separate, so they are allowed 1 monument sign per road frontage. And so they do have 2, and they have kept both of those monument signs.
And then you said earlier from the legal perspective, as Councilman Dorito was just talking about, the vibrant blue background color, like activates one thing, like the sign, but when you add a vibrant color like that in the background for that 41 feet, that's not counted?
That's correct.
Okay.
It's only the lettering, not the dark color.
Okay, great, thank you.
Councilman Mitchell?
I agree with Councilman Dorito's concerns. It reads like one big sign, and typically we would not allow a sign of that enormity in our city. So I would like for us to look at an ordinance that would limit the use of background colors, because if you'll switch back to the pharmacy lettering, it did not look nearly as big and imposing as what this Activate with the dark blue lettering looks like. If it had been kept lighter, it wouldn't have that same imposing feel. I'm leaning toward not agreeing with the monument sign if they're going to keep that painted like that.
Not agreeing with the third
It just
sign.
screams at you when you're riding by, and I think most of our residents would not want that.
Any other questions for Director Cook? Thank you, ma'am. Would the applicant like to come forward at this time?
Good evening. I'm Marcia Jones.
Could you please turn the microphone on?
And if you wouldn't, just mind to hit the right-hand button to turn on the microphone. Thank you. I'm Marcia Jones. This is Tom Tyson. We're with Signal Signs. We're the company that installed the lettering and would be installing and manufacturing the sign, the additional third sign that they're requesting. As far as the background color, that was left with something that the customer handled. We only installed the letters on that blue background.
Is there anything else you'd like to add on your behalf?
Well, the size of the sign that currently was installed there was under the allowable size to allow for the third sign. We made them smaller than what they could have been.
The two existing signs that we've already installed, they could have been larger, but we just made them smaller to accommodate being able to add the third sign in the total square footage.
Okay. If that's all you would like to present to us, that's fine. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Councilman Dorito?
Yeah, unfortunately, the owner or the applicant is not here this evening, it sounds like, right?
No,
So you're just
they are not.
representing the sign company.
Yes.
And so I don't know if you know the answer to this, but is the dark blue background and the lighter blue lettering for the Activate name itself, is that their company logo? Is that
Yes.
what they typically
Yes, sir.
have on everything that they do?
Yes.
All right.
They have these locations across the country. This isn't just a one standalone location. They have this across the country, and these
Okay.
are their colors.
I assume that, but I just wanted to get it on
Yes,
the
sir.
record. All right, thank you. Ma'am,
Any other questions for the applicant?
not for the applicant.
If you have nothing else to say at this time, then we'll go to public comment.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not for this item, Mr. Mayor.
However, if you're in favor of this item and would like to speak and advocate for this project, now's your chance to do so. I don't see anyone coming forward, so I'll open it up for anyone who would like to speak against this item. And I don't see anyone coming forward in opposition to this item as well. So we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Mayor, I'll make a motion.
Councilman Dorito, what is your motion?
I make a motion to deny E-25-09 Activate Game Sign exception as outlined.
We have a motion by Councilman Dorito, a second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? Councilman Dorito?
Thank you, Mayor. Ms. Eswine, I don't do this tonight, but I'd love to understand a little bit more about why the navy blue part of the sign depicted this evening is not considered part of the signage, particularly if it's a logo of the company that's putting it on the building, because I think that's something, as Councilman Mitchell mentioned already, that we probably need to look deeply at as having more stronger ordinances around managing that in the future. So just wanted to make that comment. Love to hear your opinion on that in the future.
I'd be happy to have that conversation with you.
Thank
And
you.
I believe a different individual from my office has had that conversation with Kathy, and so we can set something up to kind of explore those options and discuss that further. I'd be
Thank you.
happy to.
Any other discussion? Well, all those in favor of the item to deny, please vote yes. Otherwise, vote accordingly. And the item does pass. It was denied, 5-1. So we'll move on to the next item. Next item is the ordinance for professional bondsman text amendments. This is the first reading. I'll turn it over to Ms. Eswine to read the ordinance aloud.
An ordinance by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to amend Article 12 of Chapter 10 of the Code of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, known as the City's Professional Bondsperson Ordinance, to amend requirements for applications for permitting, to provide for renewal applications, to amend regulations regarding the denial or revocation of a permit, to provide for requirements and procedures governing bondsmen, to provide for bond posting and forfeiture, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes. And I believe this is listed as my item to present, so I will get us started. So as you all know, with the opening of the jail, we wanted to be able to accept bail for individuals who are in custody to post bond, and our existing ordinance actually provided for licenses for being a professional bondsperson in the city to be approved by the city council, and we had none. So a few meetings ago, we actually suspended the enforcement of that licensing requirement, and as authorized under state law, deferring strictly to who the sheriff of Fulton County has approved as a professional bondsman within the county. However, in looking forward in continuing on with the jail operations, I've worked with city staff, with Brooke Lappin and Eric Furr, to basically revamp the licensing ordinance. And so bondsmen, bail bondsmen, it's actually a topic that's really extensively covered in state law. So a lot of the procedures related to how this would operate are not included in the ordinance because it defers to state law, speaking specifically like for bond forfeitures and things. But in the ordinance that is before you, you see application requirements just like what we had before, but beefed up a little bit, consistent with all of the other types of licenses that we have in the city, just like what you just considered not even a month ago with the massage and spa establishment licenses. So the sheriff has to have approved anyone who's going to be operating in Alpharetta. That's required by state law. But within Alpharetta, in order to get a license, in addition to having been approved by the sheriff, the chief will have to approve them, and they would be complying with our ordinance, coming in and applying. We would have an escrow set up for anyone who's going to be providing bond in Alpharetta to be set in an amount set by the chief according to the assets and liabilities of that professional bonds company, with procedures similar to all of our other ordinances for revocation of a license if there are certain violations, fraudulent information included in an application, if they fail to continue to maintain the license, if they violated state law. All of those typical things that we see in our other ordinances are implemented here as well. And so that is the long and the short of the ordinance. I'd be happy to discuss any of the specifics. I will go ahead and note that I received a comment and a question from Councilman Hypes about the application and who has to come in and comply with the application. That was an oversight on my part. And so I would point you to when we've had, for instance, with our massage ordinance, that's the most recent one that we did, for corporations and limited liability companies specifically. you may have a corporate entity that is owned by yet another one, a nesting LLC, if you will. So one LLC is owned by another LLC, and it takes a few steps to get to that individual, to a natural person who has an ownership interest. As part of the first reading, I would appreciate y'all's direction on how you want to approach that, and I'll be happy to make the adjustments accordingly. Within the massage ordinance, what we have just included was that if an applicant was a limited liability company with individual persons as members, then each member had to sign the application, had to complete that process. And if it was a limited liability company or corporation that had corporate members, then it was just the majority stockholder and a designated officer who was primarily responsible for operations within the city. And so unless y'all have different direction, I would suggest providing some comparable requirement here for those types of limited liability companies.
Do we have any questions from Ms. Eswine? Thank you. We appreciate you taking care of this as efficiently and as quickly as possible as we're trying to stand up our new local jail. If we don't have any other questions for Ms. Eswine, Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if anyone would like to come forward, now's your chance to do so. I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor, I offer a motion this evening to approve the ordinance professional bondsman text amendments as presented by Ms. Eswine.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel, a second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So we'll move right along to the next item, which is the ordinance for mobile food vendors and pawn shop text amendments. Once again, it's a first reading, so Ms. Eswine, please.
Mr. Mayor, I think it would be the insurer license fees text amendments. I don't know if maybe my agenda.
You're right.
Okay.
I have skipped. My apologies. So we'll move on to the ordinance insurer license fee text amendments, the first reading.
An ordinance by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to amend Article 2 of Chapter 42, Insurer License Fees of the Code of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to provide for effective dates, to repeal all ordinances in conflict herewith, and for other purposes. I believe it has Tom listed, but I can present this if Tom doesn't want to walk all the way down here.
He needs the exercise.
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This item is before you actually because of an administrative error with the insurance commissioner of the state, because you did, as part of amending our occupational tax or licenses ordinance in, I think, May or June of this year, amend the payment or the fee that would apply to insurance companies from $100 to $150 based on our size of our city. That's under statute that you can charge $150. So we did that, but we did not follow the statutory requirements to file that ordinance change or amendment properly with in the time frame to the insurance commissioner. So we're just ratifying or re-ratifying that that change in this ordinance.
Do we have any questions?
40,000, less than 40,000 a year.
Do we have any questions? No questions for Director Harris? Come on, guys. Thanks, sir. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
And you did read the title. I just didn't check that off as it went through. Is there anyone that would like to come forward and speak on this item? I don't see anyone come forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance to amend Article 2 of Chapter 42, the insurer license fees of the Code of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to provide for effective dates, to repeal all ordinances in conflict herewith, and for all other purposes.
Second. I have a motion by Councilman Brady and a second by Councilman Hypes. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So now we'll move back to the mobile food vendors and pawn shop text amendments. Ms. Eswat.
An ordinance by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to amend Article 10 of Chapter 10, Mobile Food Vendors, and Article 11 of Chapter 10, Pawn Shops of the Code of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, to amend provisions regarding licensing requirements and fees, to provide for effective dates, to repeal conflicting ordinances, and for other purposes.
Director Harris.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is just to tweak the ordinance to pick up two types of businesses that were not, that we did not include in the original ordinance occupational license changes. And it's just raising the fee from $150 a year to $175 for pawn shops and mobile food vendors, which there's, according to our records, one pawn shop and 16 mobile food vendors for a total of $425 is the impact.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any questions for Director Harris? Thank you, sir. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
If you'd like to come forward and speak on this item, now is your chance to do so. And I don't see anyone coming forward, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the ordinance to amend Article 10 of Chapter 10 titled Mobile Food Vendors and Article 11 of Chapter 10 titled Pawn Shops of the Code of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Brady and a second by Councilman Mitchell. Any discussion on this item? Councilman Hypes.
Just like to note that if you review our city ordinances, the last time any changes were made to fees for a pawn shop was 1990. So I think that business is doing okay in the fee business.
Any other discussion? Do I have a motion from council? Okay, that's right. Got it written right here. All those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So then we have several items through here that I've already announced will not be heard or considered this evening. Flip through a few pages here. New business, that's what we need to pick up on. First item under new business is the fiscal year 2026 HVAC replacements. Director Sasevich, you finally get the floor.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For you tonight is part of the FY26 capital budget is a replacement of the HVAC unit at the Cryopool Gym. This unit is 29 years old. Life expectancy is between 15 and 20 years for these type of units. We have a vendor, A Comfort, who's our on-call vendor who does our maintenance, but we shadow priced them as well, and they were still the lower price, and they came in at $65,595.14.
That it?
That's it.
Do we have any questions for Director Sasevich? Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards on this item?
We do not, Mr. Mayor.
However, if you'd like to come speak about the HVAC opportunities, now is your chance. Don't see anyone rushing forward at this time, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mayor, I move to approve the funding in the amount not to exceed $65,595.14 to A Comfort for fiscal year 26 HVAC unit replacements and authorize the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Dorito and a second by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel. Any discussion? I'll just tell you, if you're getting almost 30 years out of those units and they're taking a pounding, well done, sir.
That's well made, too.
That's what I mean. Taking good care of our residents' taxpayers' money.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All those in favor of the motion, please vote yes. And it is unanimous.
Thank you, Mayor Council.
Thank you, Pete. Next item is the request for proposals, RFP 26-101, Design Build Farmhouse Heritage Park. Director Rogers.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. Good evening to the council as well. Tonight, we're seeking approval for a contract with Hashburn Construction, LLC, for the design build of the Farmhouse Heritage Park, an amount totaling $1,898,860. Farmhouse Heritage Park was one of the projects approved by the voters as part of the 2022 Parks Bond. The farmhouse site is considered to be the first settlement in Alpharetta in the early 1830s. Historical documents point to a thriving commercial center between 1834 and 1858. At various times, it featured a grist mill, a sawmill, a cotton gin, post office, and general store. A dam was constructed to provide power to operate the mills and the cotton gin. A grist mill operated into the 1920s, and the backwater created by the dam provided a swimming hole for the local children into the 1950s. A request for proposal was issued on July 17, 2025. The delivery method for this RFP was design build with a total budget of $1,898,860. A total of 5 firms submitted proposals. An evaluation committee evaluated proposals based on conceptual design, past project delivery, experience, references, and schedule. 2 firms were shortlisted and interviewed. The Hashburn construction team with design partner Cason Collaborative Design was selected. Their design took into consideration the challenges of the site, which included a steep terrain, floodplain, stream buffer setbacks, limited access, and limited staging area. The design is for an overlook park that will include an entrance plaza, a 12-foot wide raised boardwalk, historical markers, and ADA compliance. The construction is estimated to take less than a year. However, 2 state permits will be required that include a 25-foot state buffer encroachment, stream buffer encroachment, and an encroachment permit from the Georgia Department of DOT for work within the right-of-way. And we'll switch to here, and I have the design that is currently being offered by the group, and it shows the entrance plaza, which is number 1, along with the sign for the park, and then it has a 12-foot boardwalk, very similar to what we have at the Alpha Loop, that kind of look, that goes over the sewer easement. It has to stay 12 foot above the sewer easement there, and then it'll step down with various historical markers along the way, and it will give you a nice view of the farmhouse area and the dam down at the bottom. That completes my presentation. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Do we have any questions for Director Rogers? Councilman Brady.
I can't help it. I'll just say it. I can't help it. I know this was passed before I got on council, and I have all the respect in the world for the voters voting for something in 2022 and expecting to be a part of that. I just don't understand the design of it. And I'll just say that the entry point from the plaza it's not a destination you can park at. There's no parking or anything like that. Is that right? You can't? Because I always thought it was going to come in through the other side, not Old Milton. Now you got Georgia 400 coming in another 100 feet from there. I'm just really worried about anybody's safety as they enter in what you call the entry plaza. I wish it was designed so much differently. I think it's a lot of money for what's there. I appreciate the historic value. I'm not saying anything against the historic value of it. I'm not saying anything against the voters that voted for something. I just don't understand the entry point. So I don't know what was in the thought process there. Could you not get into this any other way? So this is the only way you could get into this site? Is that what it is?
The entrance points off of Old Milton is currently the only access that we have from public property to that property.
And there's no parking there?
And there's
So
no
where would you
parking
park?
offered as part of this.
Quick Trip?
yes, sir. No parking.
No parking. And there's 4 lanes right there, high-speed lanes.
Quite a
Okay.
few.
I don't understand this. Thanks.
Councilman Mitchell?
That's a very valid point to make. I know that when Kathy was working with the nearby occupant that was going to build there, the medical office building, they had agreed to allow parking there that you could walk down the sidewalk to, and is that still standing? Or maybe Ms. Cook can address that?
Councilman, I haven't spoken to them probably in over a year, but I know that Morgan met with them to look at temporary gravel parking, and I don't know if that was furthered, but they did indicate, and it was actually a condition of zoning, that when they built an office building, that they would provide parking. It's just that they haven't come forward with that. And I don't know if anything happened with the temporary option.
But I do remember that it was a condition of zoning, and
Yes.
so as they come back to council or to a future council, they'll just have to maintain that condition when they ask for a permit, right?
Yes, they would have, in order to not build it, they would have to come back to council and ask to change that condition, so we would enforce that. But most of the different projects that we've seen there have been different office buildings. They've been very excited about having that amenity next to them, so they want to be able to provide that parking because they believe it's an amenity for employees that would be within the office building.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Dorito?
I know this is a design build, so the concept was this presented by the Has-Been Construction LLC? Did they come up with the concept, the design that we're looking at?
They came up, as part of their initial proposal, they had 2 different designs. And then we went through the interview process and we selected them, and staff sat down with that group and made tweaks to that design. And that's what you're seeing here is the things that we know, like the sewer, as far as the access, the things that we know are taken into design. They have not done construction drawings for this, but this is the design right now that's currently within the budget that we have.
Would there be any ability to provide some additional input as far as what the final design would look like? Because I kind of agreed with Councilman Brady, and Councilman Mitchell kind of spoke to it a little bit, is the parking and having access from the parking area. Because I don't think, even the voters supporting this, I think that they obviously supported the idea of protecting a very historical site in the city, which I'm all in favor of. But I also want to make sure that if we're going to invest this type of money, that we come up with a design that has, provides real accessibility to the city residents or visitors in the city, or people that may work up the street from there that want to walk around and check out the historical content in this park. I wanted to be a workable facility that we all will be proud of versus, having very little use because there's no parking and there's one access point off of Old Milton Parkway right next to the entrance to Georgia 400, which I think would mitigate the ability of people to be able to get into the historical park to really enjoy what we're trying to build here. I just think through this process that we want to fulfill the obligation of the voters here, but we also want to do it that we're proud at the end of the day what the result of that is. And I do think accessibility to this is very important. I think some security and safety features have to be considered since it's kind of in a bold area. I don't want to become a homeless shelter. So I wanted to, I want to be a workable park that is safe and accessible. And we may have to invest a little more money into achieving that or working with the neighbor next door to provide for that parking. But I just like, I mean, this is the initial concept, and I get it, but I'm hoping we can make some changes to it to make this even a more grandiose facility at the end of the day.
Well, I think
My point of view.
the restrictions that you're talking about, the lack of parking and the access from Old Milton are two of the things that all of the companies realized going into the design that we did this. So if we were going to provide parking or if we were going to try to access it somewhere else, we'd have to go back to some kind of RFP because we gave those conditions. Part of all six of the folks, the teams that put a proposal in all had those restrictions. So if we change those restrictions or loosen those restrictions, I think, and I'm not the RFP guru, but I would think we'd have to go back and offer that change to everyone.
I mean, I don't know what the rest of the council feels, but just to be completely transparent in my thoughts, I mean, I don't know if we'll get the usage of this facility for the money we're going to invest in it, having that access point off of a very busy highway at Old Milton. By the way, it's going to go in the next 3 years, an expansion of adding, a third lane each way down Old Milton. So it's going to become even more of a busy thoroughfare, I would think, as a result of that. So I'm just trying to have some foresight here and make sure that we provide accessibility and parking availability to make this a successful venture that the voters, I believe, voted for, not just to have an access point off of Old Milton Parkway and hope that somebody has the ability to get there and use the park. But that's just my thoughts. And maybe it's too late to change that, but I'm only one person up here, but just my thoughts.
Mayor Pro Tem?
It's probably a better question for Pete. From from a timing standpoint, we still don't know what Georgia DOT is going to do as far as easement space, how much they're going to need, or they're going to take. That's a question. We don't know, is what my understanding.
So as of today, we do know that they do not need to acquire any of the property here.
Okay.
There's actually a creek that divides the on-ramp from this property, and they're not going to go past that creek as of now. They have no plans to do that as of now.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilman Mitchell?
Thank you, Pete. I know that we've been working with DOT and they understood the heritage part of the park for years now. But Morgan, where it comes down to number 3, that leads to the ground level, is that correct?
No, sir.
It does not. It stays elevated up to there.
This particular design does not get you to ground level. It is an overview park.
Okay.
Now, if you look at this number 3, this is a stopping point for this project, but it could be a place where you would connect up. If you came from this way on the ground level, you could make a connection there in the future. But right now, this does not get you down to the ground.
Like we've done with the Greenway in other places.
Right.
So that you could, I've always seen this as a legacy project that would change and evolve through the years. The topography is such that it's elevated, and with this being ADA accessible, I don't know how many folks are going to go down there to get back on slippery rock these days anyway, to get into the creek, but I do think they will go visit it and look at the signs and read the history behind it and stuff like that. But I see this as being an evolving park, especially once the developer, he was excited about it as an amenity, and I think he could connect to that in the future. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions on this item? Thank you, gentlemen. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do have one this evening. The first card is for Pat Miller to speak in favor of this item.
My name is Pat Tatum Miller, and I live at 13040 King Road in Milton. And I'm here tonight as president of the Alpharetta and Old Milton County Historical Society. I was kind of amused at all of the discussion. It seems to me that if people in the 1830s could get down there and build buildings and roads, we ought to be able to figure it out in this day and age. So I want to thank those of you who are about to vote to go forward with this project. And I want to, on behalf of the Historical Society, give a special thanks to Councilman Mitchell. He's pretty much led all of the historic preservation projects that have happened since I moved up here in 2014. I first met him when we worked on the history room across the hall. Before I got here, he led the ordinance for historic preservation and the creation of the Historic Preservation Commission. And Connie Mashburn, who was the city's official historian, couldn't be here tonight. His wife Jane is sick, but he sent me an email that listed all of the things that Donald has done. And rather than read them all to you, because it would take a while.
You only got 3 minutes, so you've gone through it pretty quick.
I'll just say that if Connie ever writes a sequel to his History of Alpharetta, there's going to be a whole chapter devoted to Councilman Mitchell. I know that because he emailed it to me tonight. Thank you, Donald, for all you've done, and I hope you will stay involved.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward at this time?
Good evening, everybody. Hope y'all
Good
are doing
evening.
fine. Yep, it's all good. As you know, I've been a farmhouse proponent for a long time, and to know that we're still talking about it and moving forward with all of this is extremely satisfying. I'm very excited about all of it. I did want to say that for a lot of folks, they don't really know where it is and what it became of, but Mr. Rogers did a great job in explaining a lot of it. It sits on the northeast corner of Old Milton and Georgia 400. And in its time, in the 1830s, 40s, 50s, and up to 19 whatever, it was a thriving community. And like you said, it had a post office and people, and they did things, and they loved their kids and their families, and they did the best they could during that time, and much like today. And the fact that we are doing our very best to preserve it is amazing. I understand the logistical problem of it, but I do know that anything that you don't save, nobody can visit. And so I think in time, once people know what's there and how much it means to Alpharetta, that they will find a way to get there. And so I understand the parking and all that, but the fact that we're trying to move forward and to make this something meaningful, we're a unique community, and the fact that we have where we started still there. Most places there's just a sign stuck in a parking lot and said, this is where it started, or this is where it happened. And we're totally unique in that sense, I believe. I did want to say one thing, and I have something to read from from Shaq Lewis. If I get like an extra minute, I'm taking his time. So, but we did a documentary about Farmhouse 5 or 6 years ago. And if you get online and you look up Saving Farmhouse and Alpharetta documentary, it pops up, and it's about a 14, 15-minute documentary, and you can learn all about Farmhouse and why it matters. Why it mattered then and why it matters now and why it will matter in the future. So I appreciate everything that you're doing to move this forward. I really do. I'm thrilled. So I wanted to read this from Mr. Lewis, from Shaq. He could speak, but it was very quiet. and so he asked me to come up and speak for him. Good evening. My name is Shaq Lewis, 2430 Commerce Street and 184 Canton Street, where I grew up. It is a miracle that farmhouse exists at all. Georgia 400 just barely missed it by a few feet and being covered up in piping and concrete. It isn't worth much. It's in a ditch and no way to build on it. It's in a gully or ravine with very difficult access. You almost have to be a mountain goat to safely climb down. And it is where the water goes, and it has been for centuries. It's also the birthplace of Alpharetta, a mill and water source that was the center of life and commerce. Shoot, we're still arguing over where the name came from, but there's no argument as to what this place is. There will always be those who argue pure logic, efficiency, economics, and expediency, and ignore the history, tradition, art, and skill that is required of a community working together, not virtually, but literally hand in hand. Farmhouse is meant to be saved. That's why it's still here. It's a story that insists on being told. Let's help it along. Thank you, Mr. Shaq Lewis. And I will add to that, I'll say, we need Farmhouse to be in our history, and therefore Farmhouse needs us. So I thank you for what you're doing, and I'll say full speed ahead. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to come forward? Seeing no one come forward, I'll call for a motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a motion that we approve the RFP request 26101, Design Build Farmhouse Heritage Park. Consideration of approval for the award of the contract RFP 26101 to Haspen Construction LLC for the design build of the Farmhouse Heritage Park in an amount total not over $1,898,860, and with the authorization of the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Mitchell, a second, Councilman Hypes. Any discussion? Councilman Brady.
Yeah, I just want to make, obviously I wasn't on council when this first went through, but I do want to let everyone know that it is very important that the voters voted for this and went along. The historic nature of it and the understanding of it needs to be respected. I'm just completely disappointed that our other landowners around there didn't give us a different access to get in, that this could be more generational, right? And generational is better way to pass on history is to pass it on to a younger generation. You have your kids walking there. And it's just a difficult, safe zone to enter into. And I hope in the future with this is that we find a different way to get in there, that we could have safety and younger kids kind of getting in there. I know it's Billy Goat land. I get that's the way it was, right? Like you put it perfectly, water flows downhill, and that's the way it got there. But that's my disappointment. That's what my comments are behind. So thank you for listening to me.
Any other discussion? Councilman Dorito.
First, Shaq, I hope your recovery's going well. Good to see you here this evening. Also want to express, as already mentioned, appreciation for Councilman Mitchell's proactiveness in this whole farmhouse proposal. I'm very much in favor of this. I'm in favor of working with the council in my next term to even improve upon the current design, to address some of the issues that I raised this evening, other council members raised this evening. And I trust Councilman Mitchell when he talks about it's an evolution. And I think was mentioned already how important it is to protect and retain the history of this great city we all love living in. And I just want to see this to be the best historical site that the city can offer. And I'm willing to continue working on, improving it as we get our initial design in place and maybe provide the access and work with the neighbor to provide parking and additional access to this park, because I do think this could be a real educational facility for the youth of our city, new residents to the city, and I think we'll all be very proud when it opens up and we have a ribbon cutting to talk about the historical content of this very small piece of property in Alpharetta. But as mentioned, and I love the comment, you can't protect something if you don't do something with the property. I'm
paraphrasing, but that's such a true statement. And the history of this little piece of property is amazing to me when I think about it. I've been a resident of Alpharetta a little over 30 years, and it's way before my time, obviously, but I didn't know how important this property was. I did have discussions with Councilman Mitchell about it when we were first discussing this at a retreat, if you remember, Donald, and pretty much convinced me that this is something that we have to kind of move forward on and make happen. And we'll be proud at the end of the day when we are able to walk around this park and look at the historical content of and the importance of this very small piece of acreage in the city of Alpharetta.
Councilman Mitchell.
All right. Kim, my mind slips me. The gentleman that first brought up Farmhouse, and we have the video of him, thanks to Mike, was, I can't think of his name right now, the older gentleman who passed away. Billy Bates. He was the one who really championed Farmhouse. Give credit where credit is due. And his great desire was to see that preserved and protected. And he talked about the slippery rock and how folks would come down there swimming. And Connie would talk about the snakes down there. And so I'm kind of glad it is elevated some. But this has been a real group effort, and you all are out there, and the other members like Connie Mashburn and others who have worked on this for decades now. And so thank y'all for being here. It's an exciting night. It's the beginning of what Farmhouse will be, and it will allow an elevated trail. And if you've been on Alpha Loop and some of the elevated sections, it will allow folks who are ADA reliant to get out there and see our original site settlement. And if you'll look at the earliest map on Alpharetta in the History Center, the date predates our charter of 1858, and it had on the Georgia map Farmhouse. That was the earliest mention of it anywhere, and it actually had a post office there. So it's a great day for our heritage here in Alpharetta, and thank you all for being here, and thank you for supporting it along the way, and hopefully this will be the first start of it tonight. Thank you.
Parks and Rec Liaison.
Thank you, Mayor. I remember the first time I heard about Farmhouse, I was talking with then Mayor Arthur Letchis, and I thought I knew something about Alpharetta and was talking about where Alpharetta was founded at the Methodist campground, and he told me about this place that was out off of 400 that he had been down to, was where Alpharetta was founded. And so I always found that fascinating. You know, we are talking about preserving history, and so a little bit of the history behind what's brought us to this vote tonight is, as an interesting bit of irony, the place that was originally Alpharetta, you would think just by squatters' rights it was Alpharetta property. I don't know when it ceased being Alpharetta property. I didn't run chain of title. But I can tell you it officially became Alpharetta property again on October 23rd, 2019. We have the title. And that's very, very significant to me, because this has never been a vote about preserving Farmhouse. It's about accessing Farmhouse. This has never been a vote about saving Farmhouse. We own it. This is about accessing Farmhouse. When we did a vote for those who are lovers of history, put this into the history books, we were presented with 12 potential parks to prioritize, and we ranked them 1 through 12 as a council, and we agreed to this procedure. And then we tallied the score, and we had, in round numbers, $30 million to improve the parks. And Farmhouse came in at number 7, which was the last park to be included on a scoring for parks improvements. And that's how it made its way into the bond for $2 million. Because we owned Farmhouse, and this has always been about accessing Farmhouse, you know, in terms of the history of this, I was not in favor of including that in the top 7. I felt like $2 million to access this piece of property, given its known and continues to be known limitations to get down there. I thought, from my perspective, we could better utilize the funds in the bond on other projects. I'll throw out one, Brookside Park, over along the Greenway, which would stimulate that part of town, et cetera. I bring this little bit of history up because we took a vote and we agreed to the rules on how we would prioritize these things. It wasn't in my top 7, but that was the outcome, and that became the bond referendum. And once it made its way into the bond referendum, the voters voted for it. And I echo Councilman Brady's sentiments that it's just unfortunate that what we're voting on is access, and access is difficult at best. No parking. I believe it's going to restrict the use of what otherwise could have been something really interesting to get down to, but it's just going to limit it. Above all else, what's important to me is whether I agree or disagree with something, I'm going to support what the voters of Alpharetta have weighed in on and voted for. And it's almost a higher calling than preserving history for me to vote to effectuate what the voters have asked for. So there's your history according to Councilman John Hypes.
Are we finished talking about it? Let's vote on it. All those in favor of approving this item, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. The next item on our printed agenda is been deferred. So we'll move on to the yellow playground structure at Wills Park. Director Rogers, you're a busy man this evening.
Good evening again. Tonight I'm seeking approval for the design and build services through Sourcewell with Playground Creations to replace the main component of the yellow playground located next to Wills Park Recreation Center. This playground was first installed 32 years ago in 1993. Replacement parts are no longer available and must be manufactured or built. So the city issued an RFP for playground design concept for Wills Park Yellow Playground replacement to 7 qualified playground companies with a stated budget of $70,000. All 7 companies presented proposals. An evaluation team determined that Playground Creations featured venti play structures, met the intent of the project criteria with 20 distinct play activities within the existing footprint of the playground. The original cost proposal submitted was $70,000, but with the 2026 shipping charges adjustments, the complete project cost of the project will be $73,356.18, which includes equipment procurement, delivery, installation, and removal and disposal of existing play structures. Installation will take 5 to 7 days once the equipment arrives. We anticipate in late January or early February. We are sensitive to the fact that Wacky World is closed and will work with Play Creations to have this installed as quickly as possible. We'll remind everyone that there is a third playground in Wills Park, the Purple Playground, that is available and fully functional. I showed you a picture of what is proposed, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have. And you can see that we are keeping the theme of the yellow playground.
Do we have any questions for Director Rogers on this item? Well done, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro.
We have no public comment cards for this item.
However, if you want to come talk about the yellow playground, now's your chance. See no one, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mayor, make a motion that council approve the design build services and corresponding contract under a Sourcewell contract with Playground Creations for design option number 2, the Smart Play Venti by Landscape Structures for the replacement of the play structure at Wills Park Yellow Playground located adjacent to the Wills Park Recreation Center in the amount of $70,000 with authorization for the mayor to execute all necessary documents.
Second.
Have a motion by Councilman Heitz, a second by Councilman Brady. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes.
Deanna, all they can see is the overhead, but it did pass, Mayor, 6-0.
Okay, the suspense was killing me. So it does pass, and we'll move on to the next item, which is the Memorandum of Understanding for the City of Alpharetta and Northside Hospital, Inc. Director Rogers, you got more fun to direct.
More fun. Tonight, we're asking for consideration of approval of the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Alpharetta and Northside Hospital to renew the partnered sponsorship programs focusing on health and wellness aspects of the city parks and programs. In 2018, the city and Northside began a relationship where they provide the city a monetary sponsorship, and with that, we split that money up into programs where we offer free exercise programs throughout the city, as many as sometimes in the summer we're up to 125, 130 free programs every month. In the winter it goes down to about 55 to 60 free programs every month, as well as equipment like the fitness equipment next to the Wills Park Recreation Center, the fitness equipment at Webb Bridge. They've done some work. They've done a few things at the Greenway, as well as Webb Bridge, North Park, some special event equipment, and we are been able to provide the free fitness programs. This particular agreement will last for 3 years, whereby they will give us $25,000 per year, 10 of that being for program and 15 of it being for equipment and equipment to make Alpharetta a healthier place to live. Be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions for Director Rogers? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Shapiro.
We have no public comment cards.
However, if you'd like to come forward and speak, now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll move forward. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mayor, I move the council approve as presented the Memorandum of Understanding between the City of Alpharetta and Northside Hospital to renew the partnership, the partnered sponsorship program focusing on the health and wellness aspects of the city's parks and programs, and authorize the mayor to execute all related documents.
Second. Have a motion by Councilman Heitz, a second by Mayor Pro Tem Merkel. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So we'll move right along to the resolution regarding the fiscal year 2025 body-worn camera policy and implementation program, BWC PIP grant application. Ms. Eswine, do you mind reading the title of this?
A resolution by the mayor and council of the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, authorizing the submission of the fiscal year 2025 body-worn camera policy and implementation program grant application.
Thank you, ma'am. Chief?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to ask for your consideration of the adoption of this resolution, which will allow us to submit for this body-worn camera application through the Bureau of Justice Assistance. This grant is a matching funds grant, which would basically cover up 50% of the cost of adding in an additional 28 body cameras which would cover staff that are not currently outfitted with these. These would be our CID, our administrative staff, and our community services. These are all police officers who are out in the community having interactions that are not currently recorded based on the fact that we don't have enough cameras. When we got into this business of having body cameras in the city 7 years ago, a financial decision was made to outfit uniform patrol and the traffic unit with these primarily. And now as we've grown and we've seen what the benefits of body cameras are, we're looking to make the rest of the department covered as well.
Awesome. Do we have any questions for Chief Lindgren? Thank you, sir. Ms. Shapiro?
We have no public comment cards.
However, if you'd like to come forward and speak about body-worn camera policies, now's your chance. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I offer a motion to approve the resolution fiscal year 2025 body-worn camera policy and implementation program grant application.
Second.
I have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, second by Councilman Dorito. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. And it passes unanimously, so we'll move right along to the approval directing the city administrator to negotiate with other North Fulton cities regarding the future use of the Alpharetta jail. Mr. Lagerbloom.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is more of an administrative item tonight. Let me start by saying that I had initially thought that we might open the jail on December the 1st. That date is now moved to December the 15th. It was just some things that we needed to get done before we opened it and caused ourselves any risk. So we had a couple more staff members to hire and more equipment to obtain. But everything is coming along fabulously over there. It is within the budget that you all approved. We've got some very talented staff. And we anticipate opening, with you all's help, hopefully middle of the month, we'll send you an invite for ribbon cutting, and then it will go into service as a fully functioning local municipal jail. This item tonight is basically just to telegraph our intent to the other cities who are as nervous as we would be if we didn't have a jail, and we're wondering what a city who might have one was doing with theirs, because we are the only city in North Fulton to own an existing asset today of a jail. And so many of the other city managers have been directed to engage with us and are just, before they seek other opportunities, they're just looking for some assurances that at some point in the future we will be ready to negotiate with them and have external customers. They're not looking for a certain date, and I haven't provided one. We want to make sure that we're able to do it for ourselves first before we start to talk with others about doing it for them. But this would put a whole extra level of comfort into the other three cities, particularly Roswell, Milton, and Johns Creek, just so that they have some, just so they're not out trying to find a plan B, because there really is a difficult, it would be very difficult to find a plan B. So not committing to any timeline tonight, you're not committing to any negotiated deal, just that it's always been, and we've always said it, and so I don't know that there's anything negative about adopting a motion to direct that negotiation to occur, just so you all can be on the record with your policy perspective on the futures of our municipal jail and it being used on a regional basis. So that's what this motion would do, and I'll seek your approval. Happy to answer any questions.
Councilman Hypes.
Mr. Lagerbloom, when we did the original passing on the jail, we had discussion about revenues offsetting expenses. I guess I'm less than clear on what exactly the import of this motion and vote is. I thought you always had, from the original vote, the authority to speak with other jurisdictions.
And I think that we do. The import of this particular vote is because many of the other cities were ready to start adopting IGAs in their respective governments, and were going to ask us to do something similar. I don't think we're to that point yet. So when I talked with them about what would be a satisfactory first step, and also engaged with our city attorney as to what would provide the level of comfort that we will be talking about IGAs at some point, this was the best solution we could come up with that went a step forward so that there was some comfort there, but not so far as to ask you to adopt conditions or negotiated or a negotiated agreement in the form of an IGA.
Still less than clear about what tonight's vote is. I'll cast my vote, obviously, when time comes. But when it comes to parameters for the IGA, and if we want to weigh in policy-wise, is that public discussion? Is that executive session? Is that, just a one-off discussion? How does that take place in terms of parameters so that an IGA is not negotiated and presented to us and it doesn't fit with the parameters that we may have thought?
Sure. I see it probably is really like a three-step thing as opposed to just being it's this way and then it's done. I will likely, as I already have, gotten your individual feedback as to some of the things that you would like to see in intergovernmental agreements. When we get to a point that we've worked with the city attorney and have something to present as a workable document that we can then speak from, there won't be any private discussions on the topic. They'll all be public, but likely happen in the form of a work session, and then bring back an IGA to you all that meets your policy criteria. The last thing we want to do is bring something for adoption that's been negotiated that you all then don't approve. So right now I'm getting most of my feedback on a one-on-one basis because that's really where I need it at this point. When we're ready to have that in a work session, we'll do that, and then if we get to a satisfactory answer there, I'll bring it forward for your formal consideration.
I think I heard my answer in there. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Lagerblum? Councilman Brady.
I was going to ask a detailed question, but I guess then we're trying to keep it somewhat in the parameters that you have the guidance to be able to go forward and create some substance that will ultimately come back.
That's correct. And we've presented up to this point a budget that we intend on aiming to operate from, and it had certain revenue, some revenue assumptions in it. Until that changes, that's where I'm starting, and then we'll be back to you when we can.
I would hope, just to congratulate the city and yourself on the jail kind of going forward, and I absolutely think from a regional perspective it's the right thing to do. I hope this IGA kind of has more of a membership structure, that we're all in it together.
And that's the type of feedback that I need either in this setting or individually at this point, and we do agree.
So I'll forget the details, and thank you.
Thanks.
Councilman Mitchell.
Thank you. And I agree with Councilman Brady. Thanks for all your work with this and carrying this umbrella so far. It's been a long, involved process, so we appreciate all your leadership in it. The IGA, I'm assuming, of course, I'm in favor of you moving forward with that, but I would love to see specifics for each city about what happens if an inmate, what if they have a medical issue while they're here? And that would clearly outline that the city they come from pays for all the medical expenses. If they were to die, that they're held liable for it, not the city of Alpharetta in any way, as a part of the agreement. That and those kind of things that can get kind of tricky is what I would want an IGA to entail in great detail before we begin. And I'm assuming that's some of the stuff that you want to bring clarity to as well.
It absolutely is. It'll be a version of, although I don't know that it's a very close carbon copy of the IGA we had with the sheriff to provide those services in the jail, because I can't say that that was a great agreement. But it does speak as to who's responsible for transport, who's responsible for payment of care, who's responsible for feeding them, who's responsible for getting them to court, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All that will be outlined in a final IGA.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions, Mr. Lagerlum? So, did you get what you needed out of this conversation?
Actually, I would just like, if somebody's willing to make a motion to direct me to negotiate with Roswell, Johns Creek, and Milton, and bring back to you further information at a time in the future for your policy direction. If somebody would make that as a motion and that would be voted on, that would be what I'd be looking for.
So I'll call for a motion.
And we have no public comment cards for this item.
But if you're dying to talk about the jail IGA, now is your chance to come forward. And I don't see anyone hurrying up here, so we'll close public comment. Do I have a motion from council?
Yes, Mayor, I move to approve the motion to direct the city administrator to discuss and negotiate future intergovernmental agreements with the cities of Johns Creek, Milton, and Roswell for future use of the newly opened Alpharetta Jail and bring agreements back to the city council for consideration.
Second. I have a motion by Councilman Dorito, second by Mayor Pro Tem. Any discussion? So I had an aside with Councilman Hypes just a moment ago because he was saying this seems more like a workshop than a business item. So I thought I'd provide what little clarity I can from a conversation Mr. Lagerbloom and I had about this specific item. You can imagine what the city of our leadership team would be doing right now if we did not have a jail. And so the reason we're having this discussion was to give some public, exposure to the idea that this council supports working with the other cities because their electeds are in a real pinch. Not that we're not, but fortunately we had the asset and we've got an amazing team that's being able to put together something in light speed time. So I think this was to make sure that everybody in the public understands our guidance to Mr. Lagerbloom is to help figure out how we make this work for all of us. And we just thought this was probably the best way to go about doing that. So that being said, all those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimously. So the next item is a resolution declaring the results of the 2025 general municipal election. Ms. S. Wine, could you please read that resolution title?
Resolution by the Mayor and Council of the City of Alpharetta, Georgia, declaring the results of the nonpartisan general municipal election held on November 4th, 2025.
Thank you very much. Ms. Shapiro.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So as you all are fully aware, we did have an election this year. We did contract.
Some more than others.
We did contract with Fulton County to perform the functions of the election. And every year, once the elections have concluded and the results have been certified by the Board of Registration and Elections, we as the city have generally adopted a resolution declaring the results of the election. So I would just ask that you all adopt the enclosed resolution that was provided in your packet, but I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
First, do we have any questions for Ms. Shapiro on this item?
And we have no public comment cards.
That's good to know. Thank you for an efficient election cycle. We appreciate your efforts on that part. Do we have any public comment cards?
We do not.
However, if you'd like to come speak on this item, now's your chance. Seeing no one come forward, I'll call for a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd offer a motion to approve the resolution declaring the results of the 2025 general municipal election, which was held on November 4th of 2025.
Second.
He's closer, so I think the light speed got him.
Sound travels shorter.
Exactly. Councilman Hypes is second. Mayor Pro Tem Merkel. Any discussion?
I want to congratulate our colleague, Councilman Doug Dorito. I want to congratulate Ms. Katie Reeves, who isn't here tonight. And I want to congratulate our councilman-elect, Mr. Kirk Driscoll, who is here in the audience tonight. Congratulations, Kirk.
There's no other discussion? All those in favor of the motion to approve, please vote yes. And it does pass unanimous. You're in now, man. Work session item is our next item, and that's the discussion of the smart streetlight fixtures installed on Highway 9. Mr. Lagerbloom.
Mayor, Council, I won't go into a whole lot of the details on this. I just will let you know that after you took up this item a couple of meetings ago and you moved forward to approve it for installation of a pilot project on Highway 9, we did install 2 of the fixtures, and they're installed right out by the town green. The other one is across the street in front of Smoke Jack. Hopefully, at either the Christmas tree lighting or at some other time, you've had the opportunity to look up at the sky as you've walked through there and seen them. And I'm just back tonight because I said we would have this workshop to discuss your feedback on them aesthetically and whether you want me to move forward with the corridor project or take a different action. I'll put all the different smart things aside that we all have already talked about, the camera technology, the analytics, all of the data gathering that they do, and tonight really just focused on, are you satisfied with the way they look, and do you want to continue with that project or direct otherwise? Thank you.
Any discussion? Councilman Hypes?
Couple questions.
This is a work session, so we're not voting on this.
Yeah. Does it change? Can we change the colors on those lights to
whatever you want them to be? We
didn't try that part out yet, but that is something it does.
Correct.
When it comes time to make a decision beyond, work session, what's the price differential between what we would like to have other than this and the price of this because it has so many extras? Can we get that information?
I don't understand your question.
So what we would ordinarily use as a light fixture, and I'm going to make up a number. I don't even know how much these things cost. I'll say it's $1,000 as a normal light fixture, and this one is $3,000. That's a $2,000 difference. Those numbers are probably way off crazy. I'm curious to know if we're going to move forward with a more expensive light fixture, how much more expensive is it so I can weigh whether or not I feel like the value is there for the additional cost?
So I think the way I want to answer that is fixture versus fixture. We're going to put them into 2 buckets here just real quickly, a smart fixture and say a non-smart fixture. That's essentially just a replacement light, so it looks the same. Light for light is very comparable, and the reason we brought this one forward is because those that have all the technology in them are also very comparable to a normal camera installation. So light for light was comparable in both circumstances. In the case in which they would have the technology in them, the light's kind of the bonus because the price of the technology matched what was already in our budget for installing that type of technology in the city. Does that make sense?
I'm just going to get with you offline and see if I can dig into what the differences are cost-wise. I understand there's bells and whistles incorporated into this high-tech light, but I'm still, by the time we add them to pole after pole after pole, if there's an increase in cost, I'm curious to know what that cost is.
Okay, that's somewhat of a different, that's a different direction than I was thinking I was going to get tonight, because the item that was brought forward a couple of meetings ago actually passed and moved forward, subject to putting the 2 lights up for their aesthetic appeal.
Well, if we've already made a decision collectively, then that's a moot point. So, and I'll own that. That's fine. If we're still in the decision-making mode, the cumulative or aggregate cost of installing these is of great interest to me.
Let's still have that conversation, but really tonight I was more focused on, gosh, we just can't stand the look of them, just get them down and we're going to have to go a different direction. Or, we've had a chance to warm up to them and look at them now for a month. If you have any feedback as to the aesthetic.
I thought they were a little big and didn't have a whole lot of character to them, but if the bells and whistles add something to the mix, then so be it. But I didn't think they added anything to the character of our downtown corridor, and I think the more of them there are, the more sterile, the less character it would provide. I went out and saw them in the daytime, took some nighttime photos of them, and I mean, I would have to be sold on the extras, but just on the light fixture themselves, yeah.
Okay.
Councilman Mitchell.
after you and I spoke today, we were given one model, and I'm sold on the fact that we need brighter lighting with all the bells and whistles so that we can tell how many people and we can read license plates for tickets. I'm sold on that, and I'm also sold on the fact that we need no more illumination in the downtown. But what I think we need is to look at some other companies. I'm not sold on this one company in Peachtree Corners that has one light that has a modern look when we have a historic downtown core. I think we need more options that kind of fit in with the aesthetic, that will do all the bells and whistles that we need, because I think that is essential. But I'm not sold on the appearance of this light. I think it's a poor choice as far as for downtown.
Okay.
If we're talking about the mall or something like that, I'm all for it. You know, it's fun. But not for we put so much energy and effort into the design of our downtown and all these design elements to stick something that looks that modern. I just don't think it's fitting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Brady.
So I guess you could break it down to three things, right? The aesthetics, which is the design of the lamp, the illumination of it, whether you like the dimness, the brightness, or the colors. I don't know if we want to turn it green at St. Patrick's Day and red and white and red and green.
They wanted to do that for the tree lighting, and I said, don't do it, because I'm asking them to look at them.
Well, I didn't know what we were going for here as far as back. I got a Christmas tree, does all sorts of stuff. So, and the last thing is kind of the technology, right? And I don't know, have we been able to test that technology that you're in there? I mean, are we getting, first of all, I don't know if you have tested the technology, and then what's the clarity of that camera that's in there? Because I think that's a real
Yeah, so we've
piece of the safety.
seen the technology installed as a proof of concept in another city. When we put these lights out, because of the context in which they were being put out, I said, I just need the fixture itself. I just need it to look like the fixture so we can look at the fixture. So these were sent with just the ability to turn on and light. So have we tested the internal technology in Alpharetta? No. But have I seen it in other municipalities in Georgia and around the nation, because it's not just a Georgia, Atlanta-based company? Answer to that is yes. Mayor and I went over to the Curiosity Lab. We saw it operating in real time. The technology was very...
got good night vision.
It was a step up from what we have out there today.
I guess then we're looking at one design, so it's kind of hard to look at one design. I mean, it looks kind of plain, but I mean, I guess if it was compared to something that was really ornate, I'd probably say I like the plain. So I don't know what other choices are available, right? I mean, it just looks okay.
Okay.
I'm not a design guy, but like I said, I could look at something else and be like, oh, I hate that. So kind of indifferent to it, to be honest with you.
Understood.
Any other comments? Did you get enough clarity for this? Is there something you would like to ask us?
No, I don't think there's anything I'd need to ask at this point that would... No, I'm satisfied for tonight. Thank you.
Okay. At least somebody's satisfied. So that'll wrap up the work session for the discussion of the street light fixtures. Ms. Shapiro, do we have any public comment cards?
We do not.
However, if you're still waiting for the moment to speak, now it is, and now it closes. Do we have any reports? Councilman Mitchell?
He has yielded his time.
Okay.
We have Lights on the Loop, and this is a great initiative by the Alpha Loop Foundation in conjunction with the city. Christmas lights have been set up along the Alpha Loop, and there'll be events held December 5 and 6, December 12 to 13, and December 19 to 20. between 5:30 and 8:30 p.m. And if you go out to North Winds Parkway and find the Alpha Loop, there's adjacent parking right there, and it's quite the it's going to be quite the spectacle. Really proud of the Alpha Loop Foundation for the initiative. Couple of more things. We've got Santa's mailbox at the Alpharetta Community Center from November 25. It's already started till December 13th. And one last thing to put on your calendar, the menorah lighting in downtown Alpharetta will be on December 21st at the Town Green. Thank you, sir.
Councilman Mitchell? That was it? Councilman Dorito?
I just want to take the time to appreciate and thank our Director Rogers, his entire team, and our Public Works Department, our Police Department. It's great seeing our chief at the Christmas tree lighting, walking around. It was a real community event, and it was an exceptional event. The crowd was, I think, the largest I've experienced since going to the tree lighting for quite a number of years, and seen a lot of young children there, and it was just a great event. I know a lot of time and effort go into planning this, along with decorating downtown, everything Director Rogers, your team has done and managed. So kudos to everyone involved from the city, and it was a great event and well attended. So obviously something people look forward to. And Director Rogers, you made us proud that evening. It came off really well.
So, hate to put you on the spot, Chief, but if you don't mind, since you had a chance to review that letter, I received a letter today, snail mail, and it was just somebody that was very impressed with our fire marshal's office. It was someone who is an insurance investigator who wrote like a 4-page letter praising our service, and I just thought I'd give him an opportunity to speak on his behalf.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good evening, Council. I'll try to be brief. As the Mayor said, it's excuse me, quite an in-depth letter. It's written by an insurance investigator who has quite an impressive resume, who had cause to be out in our city on an investigation. In the course of that investigation, he interacted with our current Deputy Fire Marshal, Jonathan Matisick, and just went on elaborating Jonathan's professionalism, intellect, his balance for caring for the investigation, the objectivity of the investigation, as well as the concerns for the citizen involved. So very proud of Jonathan. Those of you who know or have interacted with him, not at all surprised, but certainly appreciate this gentleman taking the time to acknowledge Jonathan and all of his efforts.
Bless you. Thank you, Chief. I just knew I couldn't do him credit, but he deserved it. So thank you for that. If there's no other reports, do we need an executive session this evening? Oh, I know they'll be heartbroken. But if that's the case, then I'll call for a motion to adjourn. So moved. I have a motion by Councilman Dorito, second by Councilman Brady. All those in favor of adjourning this meeting, please vote yes. And it passes unanimously. Thank you for joining us this evening. Look forward to seeing you again.